Welcome to another edition of George Washington Speaks. I'm Tom Saffold. In Washington's childhood, he had some difficult, even traumatic experiences, but he also had the benefit of a stable family life with hard-working parents who wanted to see their children prosper and do well in life. In this edition, George Washington, portrayed by Vern Frykholm, will share some of the advantages he enjoyed.
Life was always busy, orderly, and well run by my mother and father. Everyone knew their place and their responsibilities. Virginia society was also very busy and well run by the King's royal governor and the Virginia House of Burgesses. My parents worked hard to increase their wealth and social status for the future of our family. They wanted to make sure that each of their 5 children would have the chance to marry well and continue the legacy of the Washington family. On the one hand, we were very well placed since we lived in Virginia, which was the largest, most populous, richest, and most politically powerful of all the colonies. Only Pennsylvania and Massachusetts came close to our preeminent position in the colonies. Virginia also had a powerful claim to the lands west of the Allegheny Mountains, which reached all the way to the Ohio River. As Virginians and American colonists, we were proud to be loyal Englishmen and part of the British Empire. We also sought to be in step with the traditions, customs, and latest fashions of English society. Although we had no nobility or aristocracy in the colonies, we did have those colonists from aristocratic backgrounds who had immigrated to the American colonies. Many had inherited some measure of monetary wealth from their families, and some even had been granted large tracts of land in the colonies by the king. They occupied the upper crest of the colonial social structure we referred to as the upper gentry. But 9 of 10 colonists were common people who would risk everything they had to immigrate to the colonies in the hope of making a better life for themselves and their families. They had worked hard, prospered, and had been prudent in their business dealings to the point that since they had accumulated enough wealth and property holdings, they were accepted as part of the gentry. Not of the upper gentry, of course, but the lower gentry. While the lower gentry accumulated their wealth by their business acumen, wisdom, and investments, the noble bloodlines naturally occupied the upper gentry. I was the oldest child of my father's second marriage. I admired my 2 older half-brothers from my father's first marriage, Lawrence, who was 14 years older than me, and Augustine, who was 12 years older. They were both well-educated and had attained lifestyles that were equal to our father's. I remember when I first met Lawrence. I was but 6 years old and he was 20. He had been living and studying in England and had met many influential people, as our father had done before. Lawrence had returned to Virginia as an ambitious young man ready to make his mark in the colony, just like all Washingtons had done for 4 generations. He was given a commission at age 22 as a captain in one of the 4 Virginia foot regiments being raised to fight in the War of Jenkins' Ear. That's right, Jenkins' Ear. The war was fought in the West Indies between Britain and Spain, and his commission came from the court of King George II of England. While serving in that capacity, he was noticed by Admiral Edward Vernon, who took him aboard his own ship and under his own command as a Marine. It was during the 2 years of fighting the Spanish in the West Indies under Admiral Vernon that Lawrence came to greatly admire him. It was also during that time that he contracted tuberculosis and a very virulent strain that would plague him later in life. Although the Virginia regiments were disbanded in the fall of 1742, Lawrence still had a taste for the military life. Upon returning, he pursued and won the post of Adjutant General for the militia of Northern Virginia and was promoted to Major. He also began to take control of the plantation that he would eventually inherit, the Little Hunting Creek Plantation, and he earnestly pursued Anne Fairfax of Belvoir, whom he eventually married. Anne's father was the Honorable Colonel William Fairfax, the cousin and land agent for Sir Thomas Fairfax, the 6th Lord Fairfax of Cameron. Their marriage took place in the summer of 1743 after our father, Augustine, had died. With his marriage into the Fairfax family, Lawrence now was immediately accepted in the new world of affluence. He renamed Little Hunting Creek Mount Vernon in honor of Admiral Vernon. He also succeeded in becoming a member of the House of Burgesses in Virginia, representing Fairfax County. All of this brought him even more affluence and increased respect to the Washington name. Virginia, like England, had long been a place where the success of a man and his family depended on the connections that were forged in the dens and the smoking parlors of richer men who might help someone obtain opportunities for a young man of limited or simpler means that otherwise would never be available to him. Rising in society was often about attaining high esteem in the eyes of well-placed and wealthy patrons rather than on merit. I not only idolized my elder brother Lawrence from a young age, but I fully expected to follow in his footsteps. I hoped also to be educated in England, meet powerful and influential men, and eventually marry into a family of similar or superior means as Lawrence had. But then the unimaginable happened that no one expected, that reduced all of my expectations and the fortunes of my family to ashes.
Young George Washington dreamed of following his father and brothers into good society in the Virginia colony. But a single event put all his hopes in jeopardy. Continue to the next edition of George Washington Speaks.